Supervisors for West Clifton Township. All rise to say the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first matter here is one to announce an executive sessions that were held on July 28 for personnel and finance, and on August 11 for personnel.
And Bernie, I believe the one on Friday was a first executive session for finance.
Okay.
So it wasn't on this list.
Yes. Okay. Did you get that, guy?
That's on this
Okay.
list over here. I know, it's not on that one. It's on that one.
Okay, next order of business, approval of the minutes for July 17.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. I did give a couple of corrections to Kathy, so do I need to mention?
Why don't you?
Okay, we corrected the spelling of George Tolchino's name in one place. We changed the word progress to process in another place. And the other one was somebody's name too. Was it George twice, Kathy? Oh, okay. What was the third one? The third one was Mike Bullard, not Mike Muller.
Okay, that's it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
I modify my motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
And I will second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Let's see, announcement. Chief Swittinger has been appointed as the second vice president of the Chester County Emergency Response Commission. So accolades to the chief. Second is the township has received a grant for $128,000 through Chester County for the Janie Lane Road project. So that's, every little bit helps. Next is reports, and first, Officer Kane, would you give us the police report?
Good evening. There were no trainings the month of July. The number of calls of service were 162. Number of crimes investigated were 8. Number of arrests 1. Summary harassment. Number of traffic stops 60. Number of accidents investigated 13.
Busy time of year.
Say again?
Busy time of year out there on
Yes,
the road.
absolutely.
Okay, keep safe.
Would you make that, because I forget the date, so, okay, just interject it now.
Yeah, I did want to mention to everyone just a couple of things that are coming up. This Friday is movie night in the park at Evans Park. We're going to be playing Luca is the movie. It's a pretty good movie for children. And on September 9th, we have a swap meet that's going to be at Ludwig's Horse Show Grounds. So that's a swap meet and a yard sale. And also the Fall Fest is coming up October 14th, and that's going to be held at Opelani.
I have one more announcement.
Please.
A workshop that was scheduled for the first Monday in August will be held on the first Tuesday in September. So, and this is the one about gravel roads.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, treasurer's report, Jackie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The ARPA fund has a fund balance of $128,604.86. General fund has $1,239,160.95. The open space has $3,325,236.37. The liquid fuels has $96,090.35. Capital Road Fund has $3,444,663.21. The Capital Project Reserve has $2,394,717.64. The Capital Equipment Fund has $381,886.87. The Sewer Fund has $182,965.47. And the rebill fund has $797, $454.58 for a fund balance of 1,100,000. Yeah, I totaled that up wrong. So it's, I'll have to get the correct number for that. Sorry.
Okay. All right, very good. And next, the manager's report.
Wait,
Yep.
we have to
Bills.
approve the bills.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
Which isn't in here, right?
Expenditures for the month.
Or it's in here now?
It should be.
No, I didn't get it.
The general fund expenditures are $152,904.87. The open space bill was $158,313.22. Liquid fuels, $327,260.10. Capital road was $115.25. Capital equipment was $29,267.48. The rebill was $44,677.89. Total expenditures were $712,538.81.
Okay. Pardon me one second. John, you had a question? Come up to.
My first question is, what, you give this balance of funds, what does that equate to?
That tells you exactly how much money is in each bank account.
Okay, because, so, and if you take last month's balance of funds for the general fund, for instance, and you subtract this month, you got a decrease of 54,000. But if you look at the income statement, there's a decrease of 215,000. So it seems like that number might not represent.
The
Our
fund balance
activity.
numbers are the actual numbers that are in the bank and on the bank statements.
Oh, that's fine. But the cash number in QuickBooks might be more representative of what we have, because that has subtracted checks that are outstanding. And for instance, to go a little bit further, in the sewer fund, in June, you wrote a $156,000 check. It would bring the balance down to
It hasn't
$40,000.
cleared. The
What?
check is still outstanding. It has not cleared.
Yeah, so it hasn't cleared, but there's a minimal balance since June. But we still say the balance is $163,000.
Well, it
It's
is,
just- Pardon?
because the check hasn't cleared yet. So at the end of the month, this is the amount that's still in the bank. So checks that haven't cleared aren't cleared from the balance because they haven't cleared yet. So when you get a bank statement and you do your bank rec, it's for the end of that month. So these totals are the exact amount of money that's in Victory Bank as of the last day of July.
Okay, but it does not represent what's available to spend. It may be way off of, like in the
It's
sewer
not
fund,
way
we
off.
could spend 40 and it says we have 160. So we can use that number. I'm saying it may get us in trouble someday.
Well, John, I
But
don't know
that's
how you
all.
do accounting, but when you do bank recs, you use the actual amount in the bank and you do your bank rec, and that's the money that's in your fund.
Yes,
That doesn't get you in trouble. That's honest. That's the flat out bottom line.
And the word rec means reconciliation, right? When you
Yes.
say-
So when you reconcile your bank
reconciling
statement,
it to QuickBooks?
I reconcile the bank statements every month for every single fund in QuickBooks, yes. That's where the interest comes from. That's where you show all the checks that have cleared. That's where you can pick up things that came in that were deposits that you were unaware of. It happens in this electronic age. You try to get everything in email, and sometimes things don't come all the way through. So you have to make adjustments here and there in order to reconcile the fund accurately.
but if you looked at the cash balance in QuickBooks, it may be more representative of what we have to spend and more representative of the activity that we do.
Okay, but even though the checks haven't cleared, they're going to, so that money's really not there to spend.
I think that's his point.
Okay,
Right, but if you look at the P and L, you see that they're still outstanding, and so it shows you that.
you can't tell from the P and L that they're
You
out.
can tell that the check did not clear. If you look at the sewer P and L, it says right on there, the check number and the amount that hasn't cleared in the uncleared balance section.
Okay. I'm gonna move on for a minute. In the open space, it says it showed we paid a principal on a dev, 99,000, and then we paid interest.
We pay interest every month
On what?
on the bond notes that we have.
What bond?
We have bonds with Del Valle through open space and the general fund. And the way Del Valle does their bonds is that they automatically deduct the interest every month from your account. And then once a year, they deduct the principal amount. So the principal amount is considerably more than the monthly interest rate. But those aren't payments that we make. They are automatic withdrawals done by Delaware Valley Financial.
Okay, well, several years ago, maybe 10, they combined in the notes from the township, $2 million, and from the open space committee of $7 or $8 million into
Well,
one.
During
So for all the
COVID,
years,
during COVID, John also redid the bonds for all of them. He refinanced all of them, so they're different numbers now. But the numbers are accurate. We have a payment schedule from Delaware Valley, and they automatically take these payments out of the general fund or the open space, depending on which bond note they're pulling from. But we do have a schedule that shows that.
okay, but I think it would almost be illegitimate to have payments out of the open space fund, but not out of the general fund.
There are payments out of the general fund.
There was nothing
That comes
matching.
under WTFACX. That's the acronym that they use to withdraw money monthly. You'll see that monthly in the general fund, and you'll see it also in the open space fund, and then you'll see the principal amount withdrawn usually towards the end of the year. One of them's for 500,000 and one's for 250,000.
Well, there was a 500,000 note several years ago. The money did not go to the open space or the general fund.
All I can tell you is that all of the bond notes during COVID were refinanced through Del Valle. So we now have 3 series of notes. We have
Okay.
2012, we have A and B series, and then we have the open space ones. And I can give you a copy of the schedule of payments so that you can see where they're drawing from and what it's for.
Okay, I guess I'd like to see it, because I think it's illegal for the open space to be paying more or at different times in the general fund.
It's not illegal, it's set up by Del Valle. They float the bonds, they are the ones who determine what gets deducted.
But would they have known
Known what?
that there's a legal requirement for the open space that doesn't apply to the general fund?
I'm sure they do. They float bonds for every municipality in the state. That's what they do. They're finance people.
Yeah, but years ago, when they were combined, they commingled the funds, which was a questionable practice,
Well, I
to
don't.
give us a lower interest rate.
Yeah.
And now they just mix them all together, I think.
I don't think they're all mixed together. I think if you see the schedule, you'll see that they're not.
Okay.
Would you address that 40,000?
Yeah.
Just a quick question, George Celcinos, 1415 Hollow. I really think we should try and find a way to export the bills list to Excel instead of printing it like this. I mean, that way,
This is Excel.
okay, but then could you post the Excel file? Because, all the columns that are truncated to print, we could slice and dice it however we want if we just get the electronic copy. And then we could filter on types, do everything, and then,
Well, the reason I don't give you the actual Excel sheets is because I don't want people changing numbers and then putting that out into the public.
yeah, but somebody could scan this and
Yeah,
change
but
it
with the
too.
Excel sheet, it's different because you have all the calculations. That's why I always do PDFs. I mean, if you want me to make the column smaller, I can do that.
Well, yeah, but then you're going to eventually have the same problem. Someone will say they can't read it when it's printed or something. It's why. What calculations are in the Excel when you
Well,
export?
when you export it, there's codes in there. So for example, the sum total at the bottom sometimes is a percentage of how much the budget is. Like, those are codes in there
Okay,
that if you change them, all the numbers will change.
You can export it as a read-only.
A what?
A read only, so
Yeah.
it can't be modified.
I could do that.
Then would we be able to, can you filter when you do that?
You wouldn't be able to, it would be read only.
So
Well,
you
you-
could filter it, you could filter it and analyze it. but
You
can't
can filter and
change
analyze it, can you print the analyze?
Yeah.
it. You can print, but you can't change it.
Okay, well, that would be a help, I mean, because there's columns that are truncated quite a bit here in several
Please, let's
columns.
keep the comments from the open down.
I turned it to landscape like he asked and tried to print it as big as I could.
Yeah, but then if you do Excel, we can do it ourselves then, you don't have to do it. Then
I'm not comfortable giving out documents that you can change, but I can do the read only.
why don't we try that and then, I'm sure it will take us a while to figure out if there's anything wrong with it and we'll come back and
I'm sure
complain.
you- I'm sure you will.
All right, thank you.
I'm dancing as fast as I can.
All right, thanks.
Okay, would you?
Also, there was a statement made at the last meeting that suggested that we were losing $40,000 a month in interest. And so what I did was I went back and did a comparison from last year at this time, at the end of July, to this year at the end of July. And in fact, we have not lost any interest over that time. And Bill Vitrello is here from Victory Bank. He was concerned when he heard that statement made. And I just want to say that, when people make statements like that, it's not always factual. So you have to take it with a grain of salt until we can go back and digest it and say, this is what's real and this is what's not. So we're not losing money in interest at all.
Your basis is comparing, say, last July to this July, and the interest rates have quadrupled, tripled. So how can that comparison,
Well, I don't know
from
how.
Victory Bank, I don't know who he is, but how can that be realistic? How can that,
How else could you figure it out?
from month to month, what I was looking at is
Well, these-
1 month you're making 14,000 and the next month you're making 2,000.
Right.
And all
that's-
these funds,
These are
and
the
I-
interest rates.
I've sent out an email to
All right,
you
John.
and all the board members to
These
show
are-
that.
These are all the funds, and these are the interest rates that we collected in 2023 and 2022. These are the actual interest rates that we got for those funds.
Yeah, so this year we should be getting 4 times more.
Bill, do you want to address that?
I'd be happy to, sure. Hi, John. How are you?
Okay.
Good. Evening, everyone. Bill Vitiello from the Victory Bank. I manage the relationship with West Vincent Township.
Do your last name slower.
Sure, Vitiello. It's V as in Victor, I-T-I-E-L-L-O.
Thank you very much.
So, John, Jackie did contact me about your concern, and I immediately went into the history of our interest rates because I wanted to make sure what was being said was accurate and that we have a proper accounting. So interest rates, you're correct. Interest rates have gone up quite a bit. The market dictates that, and we've followed suit. So we don't see any loss in interest. If anything, we see a gain in interest. And in fact, when, again, I didn't do a scientific line by line, but when I looked at the average balances on each one of these accounts, all of them seem to be in order. So if you're looking at a loss interest, typically an average balance would drop below significantly to make that $40,000 amount that you're talking about. And I don't see any significant drop in balance. So Jackie and her team have kept the finances, in good order that way. We even switched from the sweeps, which I know you've spoken about before, the sweeps to the Federal Home Loan Bank letter of credit, which I'd be happy to explain to the public if I may. So municipality banking is a little bit different than consumer banking in the sense that $250,000 needs to be covered under the FDIC. Anything over the $250,000 has to be Act 72 compliant, which means that there has to be collateral that's put up to guarantee the deposits for the municipality. So the Victory Bank does that 2 ways. Other banks do it other ways. We do it 2 ways. Well, technically 3. One is through the FDIC with Victory Bank, $250,000. The other is through ICS, or the Insured Cash Sweep. So John, that's what we were on last year up until March. And with the ICS creates a multiple account structure with the sweeps. So essentially, if the municipality would have $1 million on deposit with the Victory Bank, 250 would be covered at our bank, and 250 would go out to Bank A, 250 Bank B, 250 Bank C. Now that, you're not banking with those other banks, but they just go out temporarily overnight in the event of our failure or any other bank's failure in that same instance. Okay, so that's why we set up the sweeps. Now, through some previous administrations that had difficulty reconciling those accounts, we decided to flip that from ICS to the Federal Home Loan Bank letter of credit. So we have a letter of credit. Victory Bank puts up the collateral. We have a letter of credit with the FHLB in Pittsburgh, and we cover the township's deposits with that letter of credit. So that then introduces a single account structure, which is now what the township is on and what Jackie is reading to you and everybody. So I'm hoping that maybe gives a little bit better background on, I think, what we've done and how we've handled the finances on that. I mean, I'm happy to chat with you one-off if you'd like.
What rate do you pay?
So right now, so on our checking accounts, we're paying 5%, and on our money markets, we're paying 5.35%. Okay.
So on $11 million, we would make $50,000.
I mean, roughly, again, whatever again, part of that's in a checking relationship, the other part's in a money market. What that ratio is, Jackie might be able to tell you, probably not off the top of her head, though. It depends, because our money markets obviously are going to earn a little bit more. So the money markets are meant to be savings accounts. They're not meant to be liquid. So that's why the bank enjoys the guarantee of those funds, and in turn, we pay the extra higher interest rate for that.
Thank you.
Okay, anyway, sure, thank you.
One more thing. If I look at the township records, Jackie's records, the interest by month in February was January 9,000, 13,000, 24,000, 13,000, 2,000, 2,000, and back up to 14,000. That's the records that she publishes. That's what it says. Now, my comment of last month was it's going down to 2,000. And that's, I got the facts out of her report.
All right, moving on. Next would be the bills list. We just received them late, so we're going to hold off till next meeting to vote on the bills list.
What?
Oh, is it in there?
It's in here now.
Yes, in here.
Where?
Behind the summary file.
Oh, okay. Got it. All
I
right.
would make a motion to approve the expenditures list for all township funds in the amount of $712,538.81.
And I'll second that.
Okay, and I'll abstain because I didn't see that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on. Let's see, ordinance 206, amending the duties and responsibilities of the Historical Commission. Comment.
I'd like to table that discussion. I don't think it's ready.
Okay. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the changes in it, and
So then I don't
yeah,
think we ought to vote on it for
I
now.
didn't see a redlined document of that either.
And
There was one in the
Bob, did
past.
you had a discussion with our manager about the ordinance, but we didn't get.
Would you come up front and
Yeah.
address things?
Yeah, I'd love to hear what it is that you're objecting to too, so we can understand that.
Okay.
I'm Bob Wise. I'm Chair of the Historical Commission. Actually, I thought this was tabled too, so I just found out about this before the meeting, that this was on the agenda. So I'm glad Sarah had brought it up to be tabled. So I do not have the language in front of me, but I believe it's got to do with under our Historical Commission responsibilities, item 12.
If we're not ready, you're not ready, all the more reason that I recommend tabling this for now.
Yes, we are understanding that it was tabled indefinitely, but it looks like it may be discussed again, perhaps at the next meeting. So what we would like to do then is go back as the Historical Commission for our September meeting and discuss it, and come back to you then with our recommendation.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I
much.
have a question about that. Just curious, how did it end up on the agenda?
I cannot answer that.
How did it end up on the agenda?
How do you
Who has
end
control
up?
of the agenda?
It was a mistake.
Okay,
It just wasn't
curious.
taken off. Yeah.
Okay, because I think it's actually a good idea that you
Here's it,
actually go
6.
after that.
Mhm.
It was proposed in the past, and it made sense from a legal point of view, a procedure point of view. We switch up, because what we have is not actually enforceable or defensible, and it was created in a rush. And the work that's been done in support of that, historic districts and so on, was done with the express understanding at the time that we wouldn't have this sort of structure. So I'd like to see us get back to that point. What we have is not in any way viable.
Carl, name and address for the record, please.
Carl Brockwitz, West Vincent Township.
Also a member of the Historical Commission.
I speak as a resident. The Historic Commission has not voted on this, and therefore doesn't have an official opinion.
Okay, very good, thank you, thanks, Bob. Let's go back, I had skipped over inadvertently here. So approval for the Flint Road speed study in the amount of $1,850.
I'll motion to approve the Flint Road speed study to be completed by Albert Federico Consulting in the amount of $1,850.
I will second that.
Okay, discussion, up to the microphone, please.
Just curious, why are we hiring a consultant? We used to just have the police department or the manager or a member of staff make an observation, or we use our own speed counters on the road.
We did do a speed study
Okay.
with the police, but this is a traffic study because we're trying to reduce the speed limit, and it's a requirement of PennDOT that in
Okay.
order to reduce the speed, even on a township road, you have to have a traffic study.
What are we trying to go from to? 35?
We're trying to go from 30 to 25 on Flint Road because there are 2 crosswalks
Okay.
in that land. And people who live on that road think that people are swinging around that turn too fast, and it could result in somebody getting injured. So they've asked us to reduce it. And in order to do that properly, we have to get this traffic study.
Thank you.
But
It's-
you missed last month when Julia helped clarify things, that it's really much more the narrowing of the road down towards Cambridge Road and with that blind hill. That's the part where people get scared.
It's to support a reduction in the speed, I
Right,
understand.
yeah. Crosswalks, not necessarily being a rationale, but
Okay.
that hazardous area.
Thank
But does that mean this motion needs to not approve a speed study, but approve a traffic study?
That's what it said, attaches a traffic study proposal.
I'm reading.
It does say speed study.
My agenda says
So we
speed
should,
study.
we should change that motion then.
Right, so,
On my manager's report, it said traffic study.
yeah, but
Would you like me to restate that?
please
Yeah,
do.
please.
Okay, I would make the motion to approve the Flint Road traffic study to be completed by Albert Federico Consulting in the amount of $1,850.
I will second that revised motion.
Any further?
Yeah.
Ellen, please.
I'm Ellen Scott. I live on Flint Road. I'm a passionate believer that everybody has to go slower on Flint Road. And so my question is about this speed limit study or traffic study. When is it going to happen?
Well, they just approved the motion tonight, so I'll have to get in touch with Al tomorrow and let him know it was approved, and then we'll schedule it as soon as we can.
Okay.
But I wanted to do it on a weekend because that's when you have a lot of the crosswalk traffic from people.
It's not about the crosswalk so much. It's what Sarah said. It's about the narrowing of the road.
Right, but in order to get
hill.
the traffic study to say that we need the speed limit reduced, they have to take into consideration the pedestrians going across the road. That will be a big help in getting the traffic study where we need it to be.
Okay, if that helps, I'm good. But Sarah's got the right idea about why it's dangerous. So when you get the data from the speed study or traffic study, will that be accessible by the public?
Sure, we can make that public.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And we do need to assess the speed from St. Matthews to Cambridge, so we can't just do part of it.
Oh, yeah, okay, great. Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh,
Oh, sorry.
Come back up.
I forgot to say one thing. The real speedy traffic is the commuter traffic, because it's cut through Flint Road from St. Matthews to Kimberton. So the weekend traffic, not so much a problem. People are going to Bryn Coed and looking at how pretty.
Okay, I'll make sure that Al knows that.
Yeah, it really ought to be more than
He's gonna
just a
do more than
weekend.
one day, so I'm sure we can
Okay.
get him to work that out.
It's a problem if you don't get the right timing.
I understand. I will make sure that he's aware of that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is approval of conditional use opinion in order for 2400 Flowing Springs Road, the Tang.
Tang Ship Shop.
Oh, okay, you can say it.
I only know that because Christina kept saying it in the office.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Let me do it.
I just had to find it.
Number 5.
Number 5, thank you very much. Motion to approve the conditional use decision with the conditions listed in the opinion and order for 2400 Flowing Springs Road, Kansas.
I'll second it.
Okay, now any discussion?
Do we just have a synopsis of what this lot is, what this problem is?
Yes,
Slopes.
can we ask Ed to give a quickie?
Yeah, please, Ed, would you get up?
It's
Yeah, I'm just curious.
it's
what
a
this lot is.
stormwater basin in a steep slope. Is that
Carl,
enough?
All right,
Carl,
fine, thank you.
Carl, you know the rules.
19
Next time,
acres.
please come up and ask. Just comply, please. Thank you.
I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm trying, because everyone can hear me, I'm sure.
Doesn't matter, doesn't matter. Just keep order. Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Yeah,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Very good. All right, moving on. Consideration of a professional services agreement for Arrow Consulting, Inc. for permit closeouts in the amount of $2,560. Number 7.
I'll make that motion to approve a professional services agreement from Arrow Consulting for permit closeouts in the amount of $2,560.
And I will second that.
Okay, any discussion?
Discussion, because I reread the proposal that was in the packet and no place, it gave us all of the rates, but I didn't find the number 2,560. Did you?
It was written out in a paragraph, on like the third paragraph at the second page,
In their proposal?
in a proposal.
Okay, because it was. all
It's
right,
there, I promise.
thanks. Okay,
Okay.
good. Thank you.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Approval for replacement of discharge pipe and 2 drainage pipes for the stormwater basin at 1 Rachel Drive.
I make the motion to approve the replacement of discharge pipe and 2 drainage pipes for the stormwater basin at 1 Rachel Lane.
I will second that.
Okay, any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, all in favor?
Discussion from the board, what happened to this discharge pipe and drainage pipes?
Okay, so
We have to replace them.
Mike Hogan came to me and he said that the pipe under the road is very old corroded metal, and the road is slowly starting to sink. And that goes out to 2 other pipes that discharge into the basin on lot 1 of that property, and those pipes are failing. So they've got to replace the pipe under the road and the 2 discharge pipes going into the basin. So he gave me a cost of about $15,000, what do you think it's gonna cost? But it has to be done before the road actually starts to completely sink in.
So this is a road that when we took responsibility for it, had some inherent weaknesses in it already. Thank you.
Okay, sorry you weren't part of that discussion prior. All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay,
Okay, I want to do number 9.
please do.
I'd like to make a motion to reject the name of Glacier Run for an unnamed 0.75 mile long tributary of the Beaver Run in Chester County. I'll even say in West Vincent, Chester County.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion? Isabel, would you mind get up and tell us what's going on here?
With pleasure, of course. She loves sharing histories. We started a,
Isabel, just your name
This one
and
here.
address, please.
we started,
Isabel, just your name and address for,
I am Isabel Travellini. I am part of the Historic Research Committee. A number of years ago, when we were working to keep the development off the Bertrandville Schoolhouse, there was some threat to a creek that came down that way that was called Friday's Run. That was its old name. And I went to the Water Authority in Westchester. You didn't think I was going to tell a short story, did you? And asked them if there was some way that we could, prevent this development by protecting that stream. The answer was no, not in Pennsylvania. But somehow they got me started on Name That Stream project, because if you have a stream that has a name, it gets more respect. And most streams do not have an official name. So I brought this back and did what I usually did. Put it on a table, thought about it, did a few things, but then did some other things. Fortunately, we had some very active members of the committee, especially Jane and Jim Helm, who got interested in it and essentially helped finish the project. And we named every tiny stream in the township in order to make it easier for crews to find where a certain something had gone wrong. For instance, at Wilson's Corner at Pewtown Road, there was an accident with a big truck, and it destroyed a little bridge there that was really a big problem for months. And when you read about it in the newspaper, they said, it's at the site of an unnamed tributary at Pewtown Road. So when I checked the map, there were 3 unnamed tributaries that could have fit that. So that just moved it forward. All of these should have names. When we got together, we were the Historical Research Committee. So we tended to name everything for the people who had once lived there. People's names rather than hemlocks or things like that. There were rules. You could not name it after somebody living or had recently been living. You had to make a short name. It had to be easy. Actually, all of this was to go on the United States Geological Service map. But they don't actually name little short streams anyway. So we've gotten into a kerfuffle here. We went through the whole thing, but then the pandemic came and it didn't finish going through. Vicki Laubach from Green Valleys was actually the one who said name everything, even the tiniest streams. So she waited too long, and they made more rules about how you had to fill out the papers, and where we thought that it was all finished, it's all done. Then last year, a girl who lives down Flowing Springs Road in the high school, very, very, I don't know, she's going to go someplace somewhere. She was very, very interested in this. And she found out the Name the Stream project, not knowing that we had named the streams. And so she came up with a name for the stream that was across the street from her. It happens to be the very same stream that runs through my land.
And I had named it after an early woman who lived on our property, who was a McFarlane, and that was an old name in our township. And she had intermarried with several, well, she only married one person. But when you follow her descendants, you bring in about 6 of the local families. And my neighbors next door, and this creek goes through their land too, they are the descendants. And of all things, that girl picked that one stream. We could have changed a whole lot of the others, but I had told them, oh, we're naming this stream Anna's Run for Anna McFarlane and so on. So they were happy. I thought they were actually going to be here tonight, but they're not. So anyway, the girl down the road, who I think should be encouraged, we met with her, and she had a name, it's in the papers. She combined a Welsh word with a Lenape word.
It was Balasipu.
Yeah,
A second word, SIPU.
Right, Balasipu.
Half
Memorable,
Welsh,
right?
half Welsh, half Lenape.
Right. Well, you don't do that. And anyway, we've already learned from doing things with Opalani Park and the Lenape, they do not want you to use their names unless they have directed that. So we have learned to be hands-off with the Lenape, to respect that. And so, whatever this Lenape word was, mixing it with the Welsh word was not all right. We met with her and had, really nice, as I say, she's going to go far somewhere. So she changed it to Granite Run. Oh, she got to Glacier. Granite Run. It's not granite. It's full of rocks, but they're not granite. And so I think I got that word to her. The end of this really should be, it doesn't matter, because if South Coventry wants to call their piece of it something, and we call our piece of it something else, it's not long enough to go on the map. So anyway, she has another one, Glacier Run. And so she also got more people at Owen J. Roberts at her school to sign it, including her principal. I'm going to talk to him because they shouldn't necessarily just say, hey, this is great, kid. Anyway, the glaciers did not come down this far. The nearest point the glaciers came is 100 miles north of here. And I bought a map to show that. That map comes out of the township's papers. And you've got all kinds of books with things you don't even know are.
Yes, I don't. But physiographic provinces of Pennsylvania.
And
And
it shows-
glaciated is way north up of Northampton, Monroe, way up, halfway up.
Right.
3/4 of the way up.
Yeah, I mean, geographers know that. I had to look it up. I didn't know that. And I don't really care, although she kept using the word accurate. This is more accurate to call it glacier. So,
Don't mess with the researcher.
but
Oh, but you forgot to mention that Serafina lives in South Coventry.
yes, she lives in South Coventry. And in fact, if you name a stream that goes into another township, both townships have to agree on it. But I don't think they have to agree on one that's only 3/4 of a mile long and is not really going to go in that map anyway. I think it just that South Coventry can call it what they want for their purposes, and we'll call ours what we want. And I could have changed almost any of the other names, but because I have this family now that's thrilled that's, the stream is being named after their ancestor, who they actually didn't know anything about till I told them. Anyway, that's the explanation.
Excuse me, Isabel, can I just ask, by declining this, does that keep us from actually giving it a name, or you're saying it's already named in our township? And what
No,
is the process
it
to get all those
hasn't
other
gone
20
through.
names?
I mean, do the supervisors have to approve something like that?
I don't know.
There isn't a rule about it. If you want to approve them, I'd be glad to tell you, there are 46 of them. Do you want to hear about every one?
There was 20.
Let's
We'll
wait.
have a meeting just for that.
Okay, I'm gonna try to find this mess.
Jim and Jane Helm will come and probably
Yeah.
tell you,
So I just didn't want your stream to be disrespected by not having a name. If we're not calling it Glacier, it's going to be Anna.
We have
right?
46.
Okay.
Let's see what Vic said. It said something more. Vic has 2 interns, Owen J. Roberts students, working on the stream naming project now. It's a good independent study for students, she says. They're starting with 2 applications, one for Anna's Run and one for
Tilt Hill Run, which is another one just further along.
just a little further.
Yeah,
down
it
the road.
goes over Tilt Hill. I learned about Tilt Hill from Harry Emery. Anyway, that one runs into East Nantmill, not into South Coventry.
Okay, so they're starting with 2 on that side of the hill. And because, as Isabel said, the application process changed, so they're going to learn what they have to do on these first 2. And then we're going to need to get more volunteers to get the rest. of it
Anyone
done.
who wants to join us, feel free. We're happy to have more people join us.
Thanks, Isabel.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Isabel.
I think we need to vote on that.
Yes.
Thank you, Isabel.
Welcome.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
In favor of rejecting.
Rejecting.
Right,
In fact,
okay.
we're rejecting, yes. Okay. All right. Number 10, approval of committee appointments. The
Okay.
appointments, go ahead.
Let Mrs. Allen.
Okay,
Okay.
so we want to make a motion to approve committee appointments for, I'm going to just read all of the different appointments. Sustainability Committee, Kirk Reinball, EAC, Drew Wallace.
Kathy, should we be giving you the terms?
Yes.
Okay, Kirk Reinball, 24. EAC, Drew Wallace, 2025. Human Relations, Chris Carroll, 24. Eric Munson, 25. Litter Lifters, and there's a couple of these because this is a new one. Beth and Tosha, 25. Karis Egan, 25. Dorothy Lynn, 25. Rosalina Pravini, 24. James Scaparato, 24. Elisabetta Paleska Sheehan, 23. Ken Allen, 23. And the Zoning Hearing Board, Alyssa Otney, 25, and that is as an alternate.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. I will second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
I'd like to thank everybody who steps up to volunteer on these things, even if they didn't take Isabel up on her offer yet.
Okay,
Another night.
all right. Next, we'll have public comment on non-agenda items.
And we have Jim who is here. George, Jim has something. He came in at about 10 minutes to 7, so.
Thank you, Board. James Lyle, 1063 St. Matthews Road. I built a home over a year ago, and the township required a letter of credit at the time. I have outstanding bills that they said that were due on it from LTL. contacted LTL, they said they all been paid, so the township is requiring payment on it now. I contacted my builder, and they gave me receipts that all these bills have been taken care of with the checks, when they were posted and when they cleared. And I have the letter of credit standing still, and I need to get it removed. I want to sell this property, and I can't do anything until it's been taken care of. So it's going back to almost 2 years now, and it's an ongoing battle I'm having here. I got verification on everything. I'm just trying to get this moved along here, if I could, a little quicker than what's going on right now. Just gonna get cleared. So I made copies. I can give all your board members the copies I have of proof of what was done on it.
Right, I have not had time to look into all of that. You just gave it to me the other day. I told you as soon as I have a minute, I will go in and make sure everything that was posted the way it said it was is copacetic, and then we can release the letter of credit. But there's still some outstanding bills that were on that list that are not proven to be paid.
That's the problem I have, is that, you gave me this of the bills that were due, and now you're saying there's more bills that are due on
No,
top
I'm
of
saying
this.
that every bill on there, you gave me the list from who was it, Andy Laura. But if you look at the sheet that she gave me, that you gave to me to look at, shows that some of them are paid, but not all of them.
There's two outstanding bills that amount to $200 in versus $5,300,
Okay.
which is big, and
So
I understand.
as soon as I can clear that up, we
Right.
can release your letter of credit. You got to give me some time.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that, but we're going back from 2 years ago.
Well, I've only been here for a few months.
And I'm like-
I'm sorry that happened to you, but normally we get a $10,000 escrow, and we don't have a letter of credit, and we deduct fees directly from the escrows. So I don't know what happened, why you were allowed to put up this letter of credit, but it kind of sort of.
I understand that point, it's here to say, but I have to sell this property. This has been going on for a year now.
Okay.
I understand that you're tedious with other work and stuff,
Yeah,
but this
it's been in
isn't,
my lap for like a week and a half, so,
but it's been with the township's lap for over a year now.
okay, well.
So I really would like to
I
get
haven't been
this.
here that long, but as soon as I can get to it, I promise you that I will.
May I give the board members these copies that I made?
You bet.
Please do.
We'll make sure it gets settled.
Jackie, can you possibly commit to a time that Mr. Lyle can have this information?
I will get to it as soon as I can, Sarah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Jim.
Thank you, Sarah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, say it Friday.
Thanks for coming in. And Isabel would love to meet you.
There's a whole package of this, and there's a lot more involved than you think, so I've got to go through and make sure everything's done, and then Mrs. Lyle can call me Mark, so I'm gonna get bills from Mark for that, so.
Okay, very good. George?
George Delchinos, 1415 Hollow. This is sort of a comment and a follow-up question, but most of 22, the township treasurer, we had I think 7 of them I see in this list. Most of them weren't bonded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yes. Most of them weren't bonded, which is only a problem if there's an issue. And I think what we've learned is certainly one of them committed, well, we argued whether it was fraud or not, but most certainly from the documents I saw, there was at least identity theft that happened. And I guess my question is, what is the extent of that risk?
The past risk?
You talking about the $20?
No,
You're talking about that they're not bonded, but you're talking about in the
I'm
past.
talking
right?
about, we had a treasurer open a credit card in another person's name.
And-
That's identity theft. They certainly had access to
And we fired that
social
person.
security numbers. And the question is, what's the extent of the risk? So certainly I would think anybody working for the township,
I am fully bonded.
I know you are on the list. You're one of 2 on the list. I guess my question is, do we mitigate the risk that potentially we had a leak of social security numbers to somebody that did something untoward with them?
Can you answer that? I'm not sure.
I don't think there was any allegation that social security numbers had been leaked, or that
No, not that they were leaked, at the
person
potential
had
that it
other
could happen.
Individuals' information that they were going to either keep after they were employed or disseminate to other individuals.
Well, the
It's not
question
an
is,
issue.
the treasurer has access, certainly, I would think. to
Right.
everybody's social
That-
security number.
That former treasurer obviously was terminated by the township. And I think, as I stated at a previous meeting, the county detectives did actually review all of the information that the township asked them to come in. And they decided that in their opinion, they weren't gonna.
They weren't going to press charges, but is there a risk, I guess is
There's
my
always a
question.
risk.
And do we mitigate that? I mean, say they downloaded all the social security
I
numbers.
just say, with the bonding, normally your auditors, one of the first things they do is check to see if everybody's bonded, the treasurer, the manager, and everybody else, the tax collector. For whatever reason, when Barbicane did that audit, they didn't check for the manager or the treasurer's bonds. So I can't speak to that because I wasn't here, but for this audit, everything's going the way it should.
Well, I guess my concern is somebody has access certainly to social security numbers.
Payroll, you would have access.
Payroll, and anyone else, I guess. What other social security numbers would the township have access to? Income tax?
No, we don't have access
Okay.
to income tax records. We only have access to the people who work for the township. We have those numbers through our payroll company. It's not something that we keep a list of, but somebody had access.
Certainly somebody
When you were
got
supervisor.
one at some point.
I mean, there's always a risk, all I can say is that going forward, we're making sure that every single employee that comes into our township is being fully vetted and the treasurers are being bonded. We really can't go back and
Well,
change
now,
what
yeah.
happened there.
Yeah. Well, we're doing good the last 6 months anyway.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for your concerns, George.
Anyone else? Sir?
My name is Mike Fox. I live on Buttonwood Lane in Bertrandville. And the Buttonwood Bridge has been under construction for at least 5 years. The last time the barricades went up was about a year and a half ago when the entire bridge caved in. And so the right half of the bridge still hasn't been totally repaired. My question is, when is the township's responsibility? So when is construction going to complete the bridge or repair it or thoroughly?
Are we waiting for a grant for that? No.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure about that, but Mike Hogan usually gives us the rundown of what projects are going to be worked on next. I'll have to check with Mike.
We'll get back to you on that.
Wait,
Okay.
and do you have any information on that?
McMahon was doing
Okay,
the design work on that.
so we'll have to.
Was it completed? Was the design completed? I know there was a whole lot of state permits that had to be, and PennDOT, as you know, I mean, they're working at 40% capacity. So,
But they haven't been doing that for 5 years.
But, yes, I drive past it frequently and I think gotta get that fixed. But I'm pretty sure we were waiting for some EPA or FEMA funds to help with that, but we do need to
We
get.
did just finalize the FEMA grant, so that money should be coming in. I don't know.
Say again.
So we just finalized the FEMA grants last week, so that money should start to come in. I don't know what it's allocated for, I'll look into it.
So come again, we'll have answers next month,
Okay.
maybe.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. But I'll talk to Casey Devon.
Barry Deliberate, 1012 Pottstown Pike, Chester Springs. I might have missed something when George was talking because the answers you were giving him. So I forgive me if I just missed the answer. So it seemed you didn't answer it. You have done nothing to ensure that the Social Security numbers didn't get out, like you didn't give the employees LifeLock or anything like that to protect their privacy for a year. You didn't do anything like that.
Well, the numbers weren't actually leaked. They're part of our payroll. So anybody who has access to get into the payroll as an administrator could look them up because they have to be on record in order to pay you.
Right.
So the only person that has access to that right now is myself and Kathy.
So none of
She's
the
the victim, so.
None of the treasurers had access to it at all at that time.
I can't speak to that because I wasn't here in that, but.
Anybody?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do know that we have decent security on our server and systems. We've got a company constantly surveilling to make sure our data is safe. What that means, I didn't investigate. I was happy to hear.
Okay, I guess I'm still not going to get an answer on that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none?
Tom Helwig, 2034 Pottstown Pike. Got a couple of old things. Some time ago, I asked for some data on police reports. Do we have any of that, or anybody ever going to get back to me on that, or do I got to keep coming here for that, or what?
Do you have to fill out a right to know to get police reports? We can't.
I don't want police reports. I want data on what it is they're responding to. How many felonies, how many misdemeanors in a given month by month over the last, I don't know, let's say 5 years. Gee, y'all want to build a new police station. I want to actually know if we need a new police
You'd
station.
have to contact Ruth McVeigh, their secretary, and she could get that information.
Okay. Last time I was here, I had a question about like why we're repaving like basically all of Flowing Springs Road when pretty much half of it's in good condition.
Jackie had
And-
that answer for you last month, but you weren't here, so I bet she's got it.
Okay.
When you're repaving a road, if you only pave a portion of it, it compromises the integrity of the road. So you want to do the whole road so that you have longevity with it. Otherwise, if you're just doing portions, it'll start to crack an alligator where the old meets the new. So they do an overlay for the entire length of the road. And we're also doing a lot of stormwater on Flowing Springs.
That's good, but there's none of that up on the top of the hill and the road's in good condition up there. It's me. I have a little bit of experience doing these things. That's unnecessary.
Well,
It's just like, we're just going to do it because why not do the whole thing?
our roadmaster and our engineer worked that out. And
Oh.
I don't know what their reasoning 100% was. That's how I know from doing.
Well,
it.
I'd like to see their reasoning for it. I'd like it to be more than like, yeah, we just want to do this.
Anything else?
Yeah, there is. You know, I do my level best to not actually come down here. I got a pretty busy schedule. But it comes to light that there's been some malfeasance. And we can get into that here in a minute. But what I'd really like to see is the reasons why we paid $25,000 for an audit, yet we have no data. I'd like to know who's responsible for letting a contract out like that. I mean, if you're going to let out a $25,000 contract without any tangible deliverables, then that's fine. I'd like to be considered for the next one of those because I can deliver you nothing. That's easy. It's ridiculous. It would never happen in a business where there was any proper management taking place. As supervisors, you really have two roles. It's not just supervisors of townships, it's supervisors of all things in the world. You've got two jobs that are actually required of you. Number one, you have to hire competent, screened, capable people, trustworthy people. Obviously, you failed in that department. Number one. Number two, then you've got to have an oversight function of those people. Micromanagement is not necessary. In fact, if you hire the proper people, you have to do very little of that. But it seems you failed on both of those accounts. And Bernie, you're supposed to be like a financial wizard. I mean, I think the storyline on you when we went through the election is that you were some sort of sensei and Jedi Knight of finances. This is how we run this stuff?
Wow.
We let out contracts with no definables. And then when we finally press the issue here, come to find out, well, we got to do, Pravda. We got to manage the news. Well, the report wasn't quite good enough. We sent it back for revision. I might as well move to Moscow if I want that kind of nonsense. That's ridiculous. Anybody at all can see that when you've got to go and doctor a report before it comes out to the public, there's something askew with that. And now I'd like to see every line item on that audit because I want to see what's going on. Because why? Because I got, of all things, I mean, I'm an old guy. I've traveled the world, literally. And I'm standing here tonight and I'm absolutely gobsmacked, as my Brits would say, that I got taxpayer money going out for fancy French maid outfits. You know, what am I, Benny Hill? You know, no, I can't make that up. If I could, I would have been writing for Seinfeld. This is absurd. And this is the level of mismanagement that you guys have brought to this level, this township. It's a small little township in the country, for God's sake. I expect better of the people who are hired in these positions. I got to tell you, not looking good, not looking professional.
Tom,
Got any answers?
here's this month's police report.
Oh, good.
That is
That's a
on the
start.
police website every month.
I don't have time or the luxury to sit on my duff all day. I'd like to. I'd like to be retired out to where all I have to worry about is which bourbon I'm going to drink today. But that's not my life. I have bigger issues than most of you can possibly comprehend. I got family members that are under missile attacks daily. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Imagine why I'm a little bit irked that I got to come down here and deal with this essentially petty nonsense. I got people dying on my head. I'm trying to figure out how to save people's lives, trying to fund things, move votes into Congress and things like that. I got better fish to fry, but I can't, in good conscience, be a citizen in my own community and turn a blind eye to this insanity. It's beyond the pale. All we've ever asked for, we being people who come here on the odd occasion, is a reasonable amount of transparency. And quite frankly, I haven't seen this much obfuscation of things since I was literally in Moscow. It's insane. It really is. I feel like I've stepped into the twilight zone with some of this.
Excuse me, I'd just like to say, Tom, that in response to Barry being concerned about us protecting our employees, we hired Markham to protect our township because we had a concern. And if you think that's incorrect, then I'm very sorry.
I think that it had to happen because of your malfeasance to begin with.
Well, there probably was some, but it
You
wasn't
think
us.
so?
We were
Really?
looking for it.
I can't point to the last, and I've done a bunch of hiring in my days. I cannot point to the fact, or nor can anyone attest to the fact, that I hired people that did criminal behavior while they were at work. They might have been deviants at home, perhaps. I didn't know that was their business. But I'll tell you what, they never stuck their hand in the public till when I was at work.
Thank you. Cindy?
Hi, Cindy Clark, 2601 Flowing Springs Road, and I would just like to say thank you. I am happy that you're paving Flowing Springs Road, which I live on. I live on the top. There are lots of potholes, and we have been trying to miss them as we drive, and it looks like they're doing an excellent job. I enjoy living in this township because I think you care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff?
Good evening. Jeff Goldberg, 340 Sundance Drive in Chester Springs. Just a general question. The status of the proposed police station. Just general answers are fine. Where it is in the process.
Okay.
If you could just address that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We have been approached by the fire company. There's a plot of ground that's right next to the fire company. And we are looking at that being the best spot in the township because that's where most of the police work is done in that area there, high traffic area. The police are looking at the architect's renderings right now, and we're going to be talking about finance briefly.
Okay.
So it all looks real good, and contrary to people saying that it's going to be $11 million,
I've heard
it's
7.
not, it's still, you know.
It keeps going up.
It keeps going up, okay.
Yeah. So it'll be quite under that, so.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none,
Just to.
up front, up front.
Okay, as long as you hold the microphone to yourself every time too. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you always push me on that for some reason. I'm the loudest
Because I'm
voice in
just
the
trying to
room.
keep, doesn't matter, I'm just trying.
All I'm trying to ask, all I
And
wanted,
so,
I mean, you
just
heard me
can
from there,
comply-
Bernie,
you
was
can comply with everybody
update
else.
on the cell
You're gonna overtalk
tower.
me
That's
now?
all I wanted to ask. Could I ask for an update on the cell tower? That's all I wanted to know. So, thank you.
The cell tower is still being negotiated. We have tentative plans, but nothing solidified. We're still working on it, so it's going to be some time.
On the campus here. Okay, since you're going to push me to come to the podium, why are we going to lock up the campus? We went through this exercise when we paid the architect to talk about a police department, and it was illustrated that the barn is in the middle of the campus. So if we're going to, and that created a problem for any expansion, remodeling, rejiggering of the campus, which is really constrained. Why would we stick any sort of cell phone structure next to the barn or anywhere on the campus?
It's not next to the barn. We've moved it significantly away from the barn. But
Okay,
it's planned
thank
for
you.
tentative. We are just looking to see what the best solution is, but you know, once we finally get to a place where we think we're comfortable, and then we'll open it up to the public for their review.
It was put out in a email to committee members asking for any input about putting it near the barn. So I'm responding to that because I didn't get another email saying, oh, by the way, it wouldn't be on the campus near the barn, that it would be something. And I just wanted to get a clarification. If you're thinking about on a park ground or at the edge of the campus, that makes sense. I don't have a problem with a tower. We all use phones. We need the tower. That's fine, but not in the middle of the campus, not in any way impeding anything. That's what I was after. That was it.
Carl, near is very subjective. It's
Correct.
still on the this campus.
Okay, but at the edge of the park or somewhere where it's not going to be near a building or interfere with any expansion in the future.
Now, that's several questions there. I don't believe.
That's
it's
the
gonna
impetus was
I don't believe it's going to interfere with expansion in the future.
perfect.
The enclosure, as last drawn, is right against the barn and the Public Works garage.
That would interfere with expansion in the future by definition because of where the road department is, where the barn is and so on. It shouldn't be next to an existing building in my probably not humble opinion. That's, why would you put it in the middle of the complex? That is exactly in the middle of the complex. There's got to be a sewer plant. There's got to be another place nearby. That's what I was getting at. Thank you.
I was missing you. I knew you were back there.
Hello, Julia Brandel, 2472 Flowing Springs Road. While we're talking about things on the campus, are we still allowing people to charge their EV cars for free?
Yeah, we're working on getting the credit card machine back there to work. The software program that uses QR codes. So we have to make sure that that's compatible with Citadel, who we were looking to do an agreement with for credit cards. And we're working that software issue out now. Once we have that worked out, people will be charged for using it.
Do we know over the course of the time that it's been here approximately how much
There's no way to really.
it's gone through? There's no meter on it or something like that that says,
Sadly, the bill for the meter for that is with the rest of the facility. It wasn't separately metered.
okay.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none.
Use it free while you can.
I'll
I'll make that motion, Bernie.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
I didn't find it either. I swore I saw it because maybe because I read it into the motion.
I'll stand with you. That's not right.
I wanted to applaud when you referred it.
I